Okay, let's go ahead and practice with what we've learned. And we're going to open up the Ponder Responsive Design, and we're going to be putting together a app here with 3 scriptures on it. And the CSS that we're given is going to be showing it designed with mobile first in mind, with the 3 scriptures going down in normal flow. And we go ahead and we have the body HTML, we have the mobile first CSS, but then we're going to be working on the media queries together. All right, so let's go ahead and create those files in the Ponder section. And I'm going to call mine responsive.html. And I do want to give a little shortcut with the exclamation tab or enter, since I don't have that on my copied code. And I'll call the title responsive design here. And now I can copy the code here into the body. And it didn't really indent very well, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's indented inside of body. Okay. And we can see here that we have a header. This is what they call a hamburger menu or responsive menu. We'll see what that one looks like here in a minute. And then we have the nav with the links. We have a main section with our 3 scriptures here. And each section will have that scripture title and paragraph. And then we have a footer. All right, let's go ahead and get our CSS by the same name. Again, you can organize with folders if you don't want to have a whole bunch of files here in Ponder. All right, so I'll go down here, copy the CSS and place that in. Okay, one thing I want to do right off the bat is create that little mini reset that we talked about. Make sure that the margins and padding, you can have complete control over those. So I usually will do something like this. I don't always do the box sizing border box, but that would be considered kind of a little mini reset there. I can also bring in a Normalize file, which kind of makes all the browsers kind of start on the same page. All the little inconsistencies with each browser can be handled with this Normalize file, and I'll usually just Google Normalize file. I do like this CDN.js, and it brings in the cloudflare.com. You can use their link or you can use their URL. Their link is quite large, but that's fine. Let me go ahead and turn on my word wrap so you can see that come in. And then you also will have your own CSS file to link, and you want to put that underneath the normalized link. Oh, and another thing with the normalized, this one I chose has the word or the .min in it. That just means they've taken out all the spaces so that it probably will run just a little bit faster than maybe this one would. All right, so we'll call our CSS file responsive.css. And then anything, since mine is below this one, any exact targeted elements will be overridden by mine because it's going to be later, unless there's a much higher specificity in this one. So I would always put your own personal CSS below any other CSS that you might have linking in here. All right, so now we can take a look and go through what's happening here. All right, so this should look good on a phone right now because we have started with the mobile first design. And here's that little hamburger menu, they call it, or responsive menu. And it's just a very common symbol that you'll see that people know that that's going to be a menu when they click it. Ours is not doing anything right now when we click it because we'll need to do JavaScript in another assignment, not this assignment. So, but that's what these 3 little bars are. And they needed some CSS so you could kind of see them. And we'll see that in just a minute. Okay, so we did import a Google font called Roboto. and we are applying that to the whole body. So it will, all the children will inherit that font. And then our header, main, and footer are going to have a max width of 1,000. So each of those sections will stop growing at 1,000 pixels. And we also have margins around each one of them. This is actually centering it because we have top, bottom, one REM, left, right, automatically give equal portions. So that's going to center that. They do have a border. It's really hard to see, but it's this little 1 pixel light gray border around each of them. And they each have some padding and a background color of light blue for header, main, and footer, but not the body. That's why the body's still white. All right, our H1 is centered here. Each section which holds the scriptures has some padding, background white, some margining, and again, that same light gray 1 pixel solid border. Our nav A is actually not showing right now. It says display none. But if I change this to display block, which is what JavaScript will do another assignment, then it is kind of in the right order. We want it to be block when it's small on a phone like this. And later JavaScript will be added to, take that away and show it as people will click the 3 bars. But for now, we'll go ahead and leave that to be none. Oh, before I save that though, you can see also we've taken off on the hover the underline and the color. So we have a little bit of a hover effect there. Okay, and we'll go ahead and save this so that goes away. All right, the menu button, we've changed it so that when you hover over it, it'll have the little hand instead of the pointer with this cursor pointer. And then we have it no border and no background color, because by default button, if I take those off, buttons will have a border with a white background. So because we wanted to take that off, we went ahead and put those things. Okay, to make those 3 little divs with the class bar 1, 2, and 3, these 3 little blocks, we did give them a width, height, color, margin. All right, and then the footer is centered. Okay, so that is our mobile first CSS that was given to us. Shouldn't be too much, anything much new except for that reset that we put in there. All right, so now at this point, if we look back at what we want to be happening here, we wanted it to go to 2 columns on a tablet and 3 on a desktop. So we're done with our normal CSS for mobile first, but now we need to add some more CSS as the screen size gets bigger. So let's go ahead and add this last little portion here, which is the media screen. All right, the at media screen and min width 700 pixels. So this is the condition that needs to be true before whatever CSS is inside these curly braces is going to run. All right, so we know that we want it to go to 2 columns when it gets to 700. And how do I know? Why did I pick 700? So when I inspect this and look at how wide it is here, you'll notice up here in this corner, you're going to see the width and height pixels. See that? So I can say at a certain point, it's getting a little long, and maybe around 700 pixels, I want it to go to 2 columns. So really, it's just kind of up to you what this number is going to be. So 700 was just one I picked where I thought that, this scripture here is getting a little long with just the 2 lines. And at 700 pixels, I want it changed to 2 columns. So we'll go ahead and come in here. And what we wanted to change then is that main section. The main section has our 3 sections with the scriptures in them. And so those will be the children. And so I can set those up in a grid. Whoops. And we can have 2 columns of equal sizes to begin with. So that when it gets to 700, you see that? As soon as it gets to 700, it pops into 2 columns, which is pretty cool. Now your user's not going to be sliding their screen around, but at their tablet size, it might pop into 2 columns, whereas on their phone, it would stay at the 1. All right. So another thing that you might see is someone might have already set up the grid up here. So they could have already said, well, I know eventually it's going to be, whoops, let me copy that. And they could have put this in mobile first. They could have put it in a grid, and then they could have put the grid template columns to be just one FR. Okay. And then all they would have had to do down here, you don't have to ever repeat anything. We already had a main display grid above, but we would just change the value of the one thing we want to change. So it already had display grid. I'm not sure why this indented so far. But all we need to change then is going from one column to two. So you may see something like that. It shouldn't have really changed much. It's still going to look very much the same, but you might see it two different ways like that. All right. And then we also want to have that button, this responsive button, this hamburger menu to go away at that point, because now we've got enough room for our links to show. So we can come in here and say, hey, target that menu button. And that, just so you know, was right here, this whole little button with the 3 bars. And we're going to go ahead and have it go away. So this is kind of your computational thinking a little bit. Like, when my screen is a certain size, I don't need the hamburger button anymore, but I do need to have the menu links show. So we're going to definitely have to be changing this one as well. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and show those. And you could say display block, but that's going to put them kind of how we want them at mobile first. We want to go ahead and just leave them inline. So I'm going to just put inline so that they're coming across. We do want them to be kind of on the right side of the page, just because that's how we want to design it. So I'm going to take the whole nav and do a text align right as well. So they're kind of here over here on the right. You could center them. You could do whatever you wanted there. It's not a big deal, but they still have that same hover from mobile, and they're looking pretty good. Okay, so now when I get to 1,000, so again, notice my pixels up there, and the 1,000 is where we also get that max width, stopping the blue stops growing. And we also want it to come in with 3 columns at this point. So I can add any number of media queries. So I could add another media query. And remember, your media queries are always below the rest of your CSS. So when you come in here and add more CSS, you want to make sure that your media queries are always staying at the bottom. Don't start adding, the mobile first CSS underneath the media queries. It's not going to work very well. Okay, so media queries always at the very bottom of your CSS, no matter what you're adding later. Okay, all we need to change on this one is that same grid template column. So I can copy this one and add one more column. That's all we need to do there. But I also need to change this to be 1,000 because we decided we wanted to wait till 1,000 to get them to be 3 columns. So now watch when it goes to 1,000 up there in the upper right corner. Boom, it's going to pop in and do the 3 columns, which is super cool. So again, now they're on a desktop or a laptop. They're going to go ahead and see these 3 columns here. That will look great. All right, I think that's what we wanted to go over here. We have 2 media queries. You can have more than 2. You can have just 1. But always remember they're below all the rest of your CSS. So when I go up here and start editing some of this stuff, I don't ever want to put something below here. I don't want to start typing any CSS below here. All right, so there we have a responsive design here that's going to go from mobile first, which was our normal CSS, and then added media query CSS as our screen got larger.